Hi everyone, I'm Kelsey and today I'm going to show you how to make one of my embroidered bag tags from start to finish, including how to put your own design in the middle of the bag tag. First, we are going to start with how to add your design to this bag tag. We are working in Brilliant, so go ahead and open up that program. To open up your bag tag file, you're going to go to File, Open, find your bag tag wherever it is located on your computer, click on the file, click Open. And then on this right side over here, you're going to click on the arrow and you can see each step that the bag tag has. That's going to be important. To get your design onto the bag tag, you're going to go to File, Merge Stitch File, and then you're going to find wherever your design that you want on the bag tag is on your computer. Double click on that design. It's going to automatically center it. And then you can see on this list of steps, it's at the bottom, but we want it to go between the first tack down stitch and the second tack down stitch. So I'm going to drag it up and it'll be the third thing that stitches out. As you can see, my placement stitch, my tack down stitch, my bow, my second tack down stitch, and my satin. Then I'm going to select all of those parts, go up to File, Save Stitch File As, and then you can choose wherever you want it to be saved on your computer. You can also choose what you want it to be called. I'm going to call mine Bag Tag Tutorial. And then you're going to make sure to save it to the correct file type. Mine is PES. Then click Save. And now you have your whole bag tag file ready to stitch. So a few different things you're going to need. You're going to need your hoop. I'm working with a 4x4 hoop. You're going to need some kind of spray adhesive or painter's tape to hold your things down. I'm using this HDX plastic sheeting as my stabilizer. It is 4mm and I got it from Home Depot. You don't need to use plastic sheeting. You can use any kind of stabilizer that you like, Badge Master, tearaway. You don't want to use cutaway for this. You could use wash away. I'm also using this new Thread Embroidery 3D puffy foam in 3mm thickness. You're also going to need heat and bond light for your fabric. So the first thing we're going to do is hoop your stabilizer nice and tight, whatever stabilizer you are working with. Now you're going to turn on your machine, plug in your USB, and pull up your design that we loaded onto it earlier. This next step is extremely optional. I'm going to wind my bobbin with my top thread so that both the front and the back can be the same color. Now that you have your thread completely threaded all the way through and whatever bobbin color of your choice, you're going to load your hoop onto the machine so that we can get started. And the very first step on any bag tag, especially the ones that you get from me, are going to be the placement stitch. That is this very first stitch, so we are going to go ahead and run that. And that is just going to show us exactly where to put our fabric. Now for each step, I like to go in and clean up the back. Now go ahead and cut 2 pieces of fabric to the size of your placement stitch. You're going to need 1 piece of fabric for the front and 1 for the back. And before I put on my heat and bond, I like to iron my fabric. And I know there is a better way to do this, but this is the way I like to do it. You can obviously tell I'm self-taught because this is the way I like to do it, but I place my 2 pieces of fabric on top of my heat and bond. I iron it down just a little bit just to get it to stick, and then I will cut it out, and then I cut it out a little bit more accurately. And then once I have that, I'm going to iron it one more time to make sure it's good and stuck to the heat and bond. And then you have to let it cool before you can peel it off from the back. And while those cool, I'm just going to cut a piece of foam to fit with my fabric. And for bag tags, you just need 1 piece of foam. For the foam, you have a couple of options. Personally, I like to put it on first and let my design stitch out on top of the foam. Some people like to put their foam on during the second to last step, and when that step comes, I will show you that as well and let you know that that is when you would put your foam on. If you did not want to stitch out on top of the foam, I do like it, so I'm going to put my foam on now. Your other option is you can use your spray adhesive here and spray it down just a little bit so that your foam and your fabric sticks to it, or or you could also use painter's tape to tape the edges. I'm not going to do either. I'm just going to let it sit, and make sure to peel the back of your heat and bond off before you put your fabric on top of the foam. So you could spray here, place your foam down, spray here, place your fabric down, but I'm not going to do either. I'm just going to set it on top. Now for the next step, which is called a tack down stitch. You're going to put your hoop back onto the machine so it'll run a stitch to tack down your fabric and your foam to the stabilizer. Now your next step, you are going to stitch out the design that you want on the middle of your bag tag. So I'm going to go ahead and run my design. Now that my little design is done, the next step is going to be placing our fabric on the back of the hoop. And before we do that, I'm going to clean up the back threads because you want a nice flat surface to put your fabric down on. This is our front, and now we are going to put the other piece of fabric on the back. So like I said earlier, this is exactly when you would put your foam on. If you did not want your design to be stitched into the foam, you would then put it on the back and then put your fabric on top. But since we already put our foam onto the front, all I'm going to put is my fabric on the back, but this is when you would do it. Your foam first, then your fabric on the back. So again, make sure you are peeling your heat and bond off before you are placing that. For this, you are absolutely going to need something to make sure the fabric stays in place. That can be any spray adhesive, or it can be painter's tape or any kind of tape. I'm going to just spray just a little bit and place my fabric down. And then it is going to go back on the machine to be tacked down. And now we are ready to run our last tack down stitch. So now that everything is tacked down, the front and the back both have their fabric. Now it is time to trim up the fabric. You are going to need a pair of applique scissors, or at least a pair of very, very tiny scissors, so that you can get as close to this line as you possibly can without trying to cut the line itself. So I like to hold my fabric gently up while I trim as close to the line as possible. I make really small cuts as I go. You don't want to pull the fabric too hard because it might pull it loose from the rest of it. So I'm just going to keep going, making small cuts as I go. And that is about as much fabric as you want on the outside, although this satin stitch will be really thick and forgiving. So if you have a little bit more and you're not able to cut as close, it should be okay. Now we're going to do the back, and I will come back when it's done. All trimmed up, so this is what the front looks like, and this is what the back looks like. Now it is going to go back on the machine for the final satin stitch. Now it is done stitching out, and we can move on to the most satisfying part of the whole thing, and that is tearing off the foam. I always like to start in the corner, and it should be pretty easy to tear off, especially if you're using embroidery foam. So now that is torn off. It actually came off pretty clean except for the bottom. You are going to tear it out of the hoop, out of the stabilizer. And then if you can see, there is, especially on the bottom, still foam showing, and we are going to clean that up with the iron. So we are just going to take our iron and we are going to press the sides nice and firm, but we are not going to stay in one place for too long. It may take a little longer with these parts where the foam is actually sticking out a little bit more. So make sure you're getting the back side, the side, and the front. Then if you want to, you can just quickly go over the front and the back. And then the last step is just to cut out the hole in the top. And to do that, I just like to use a leather hole punch. And you can set whatever size you want. You're just going to put it in between, line it up as best you can, and then squeeze. And then I like to go back and forth a little bit. And then if you have a little bit left like this, just pull it off, or use your applique scissors and cut it off. Then you're gonna get your carabiner or whatever you wanna put through here. I've done ribbon in the past. We're just gonna open it up, put it through, close it, and that is your bag tag all done. I really hope that was a useful tutorial to you. If you made a bag tag with me, go ahead and post pictures in the comments. I am leaving this design as a little freebie, so make sure you click the link in the description if you want to get this one. And you can also find a lot of other bag tags like this that I sell on my Etsy. That's also linked in my description. And I will see you guys in the next one.